Okay, here we have a tutorial specifically for John, but I'm going to put it on the internet anyway. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a DeltaCAD drawing into Blender and make it 3D, because I actually have something I want to do and I'd promised I'd do this for a little while. So here we go. If we bring up our drawing, there we go. This is a little box for some cards for a card game that I like, that I want to make into 3D and potentially 3D print. So I've drawn this in DeltaCAD, which is a nice easy program to use, and I've drawn it in 2D. Now this could easily be drawn in Blender as well. It's kind of square, but I find the 2D sort of drawing a bit more intuitive in this. So what I do often is I will get this ready in here and then move it over to Blender, and that's what this tutorial is about. So first things first, with our drawing, a couple of things we need to do. I like to make all the lines solid, so any dotted lines need to be gotten rid of, and also any unwanted things that we don't really want to have to deal with in Blender, which are these curves here. And lastly, the other thing that we want to do is we want to take all of our point data and we want to erase all of the points. And that's pretty much us ready. Now this is the bit that I've kind of prepared, and I've just put everything in a nice easy to work layout so that it's already sort of lined up on the plane when we go into Blender. And if you have any sort of center points you want to mark or anything like that, the best way to do that is, should we say want to mark a center of, say, a line, if we go Control-Shift-C, which allows us to oops, there we go, and that allows Control-Shift-C, gives us a center point of a line. So if we wanted to mark a line, pick up a center point or any mark in Blender, the trick is, say I wanted to have a point just somewhere random, is just to draw a freehand line, and then that will give you a vertex when you move into Blender, and that will allow you to create that as a reference point. I'll leave those in there for decoration. We'll get rid of those later. Right. So exporting out, what we need to do, Blender will take a few formats, but I go for a DXF file. So in DeltaCAD we need to select what we want to remove, and then it's a case of File, Export, and you want a drawing exchange format. Stick this in desktop, and then you press save, and you get a whole load of options here. Leave all of this well alone, other than if you have only a selection of objects, so selected objects only, and then at the top just put it to 2018 for the version. I'm sure other versions work, but I've kind of gotten the habit of using that one, and it seems to move across just fine. And then it's a simple case of saving the file, and once you've saved the file, that is you done in here. Now a quirk of this is, because this is an old program, it still considers this to be open, and if it's open in DeltaCAD it won't let you edit or export it anywhere else. So the thing to do, and you may find it doesn't work otherwise, is you've got to close your window, and once your window's closed, that's you good. Now this will have turned up somewhere in my desktop anywhere. Let's have a look. There it is. I'll just drop that where I can see it, and then we move into Blender. Open, open, open. There we go. So get rid of all the other stuff, and now what you need to do, if you haven't already, is you need to go into your preferences, because the DXF importer is an add-on, and you want to type DXF into the search box, and you want to enable the import and the export DXF. Now I've got a legacy one selected here, it's not really a big deal, but yeah, select the import export feature for DXF drawing exchange format, and then once you've done that, we are good to go. So we go down, we go to import, we go to DXF, I can never see it, there it is, right at the bottom, desktop, for a little bit of thinking. Dominion update box, there we go. Generally the stuff down the right I tend to leave alone. There are some options, and boom, execute. And what you get is you get a curve. It imports as a curve, and if we press stop to go to the object, as you can see it's miles away, and because I'm running in 1mm scale, so 1mm in DeltaCAD, and then here in Blender, if you're 3D printing, you take 1 Blender meter to be a millimeter. Now you can change the units, but I don't bother. Now you get this annoying grey out feature here. That's easily gotten rid of. If you bring up the side arrow and you go to view, just take the clip end and just do a whole load of zeros. There we go, and that throws everything into sharp relief. We can take the mesh and snap it to the cursor, which is currently at our sort of home. That didn't work. Let's move the origin to the center of volume and then snap it to the cursor. That's definitely the best way to do it. And then full stop on your number keyboard, or decimal point, and there it is. And now we have it. Now this is in curve, so if we go to press tab and go into edit mode, this is all curved data, so we're sort of, we can't currently sort of extrude and move and such like. So what we need to do is we need to convert that from sort of curve or NURBS or whatever you want to call it into a mesh. So if we go into edit mode and then, oh holy cow, the oh, there we go, tab, object, there we go. The menus have changed since I last looked at this, and we want to go from convert, and if you go down here we select mesh, and then we have a mesh. Now if we go into edit mode, suddenly we have all of our vertices and everything is ready to go. Now this is not going to be a solid shape at the moment, so if you grab one of these points you'll notice everything is loose. Now there's a couple of ways around this. I should have probably prepared this better in Blender, but if you draw separate lines between all the points you won't have this issue. So for example here we have another line, and then it's just a case of treating this like you would anything else. So if we select, there we go, come on, there we go, drag. I've got the click and click habit of DeltaCAD, let's make that. And you can see it doesn't quite work. So what we need to do is, if we select everything, all, and then we want to merge by distance, you can do that by pressing the space bar and typing in merge, but a good quick shortcut keys, you go M for merge and B for by distance, and you'll see it's removed 37 points. But now everything is joined to everything, so we're now nice and solid. So if we go Control L for that, for linked, we can now make that into a face, and we can extrude that how we want to. So E, extrude. Now I don't know, Control Z, I don't know how far I want that, so I will quickly, and this is now turning into more of a Blender tutorial, so if you've got what you want, feel free to go, but I want these things from, so we want to do a measurement, so I need to enable vertex. I tend to go for active, and then switch on the magnet, which you can switch on and off by going Shift Tab. Now it allows me to drag from there to there. That is 5mm tall, so if we go back to our object and we go E for extrude, we can go 5mm, oops, Z, enter. And there we go. And this just allows us now to move things around. So now we can go back into our object mode, and you can see we've got something solid here now. There's a few ways you can do this. You can create separate entities. So if I take all of this and copy and paste it, in fact that was probably not the way. In fact Shift duplicate works as well. So Shift D, duplicate object. There you go. That works better. Seem to have created. Let's get rid of that. There we go. So now you've got separate objects, and all I would do is go into edit mode and get rid of that in one. X for delete, V for vertices, go back into object mode, select that, and then go for linked vertices on that, and then invert, Control I, get rid of all of that. Now we have two separate objects, one there, and we can now start to orient these. So let's go for a rotate. Let's put the 3D cursor there, so snap, and then we go cursor to selected, and then if we do a rotation on the cursor, we can go, now if we go for linked, R, X, there we go, that's in, let's go to object mode, there we go, R, X, and it hasn't worked. That's because it's there, cursor. It's orientation, my bad. There we go. X. I'm still getting used to this myself sometimes. 90 degrees. And now we can snap, set origin to 3D cursor. There we go. So, and then we can Shift D, and we can start to put everything where we want to, pretty much. So, in fact, I really should have put the cursor. Cursor should be on the other side. Select. Doing these tutorials is not very smooth. Right, I've got to admire the people who can do this really slickly, but I am not one of these people. So, cursor to selected, and then we want to set. Go back into object mode. Set origin to 3D cursor, and then we can G for grab. There we go, and we can then start to create. Pretty much, you can use these pieces as a template and put your own shapes in, or you can extrude everything out as you wish. You can see that I'm not quite as accurate. Now you could do this spacing, this spacing using a modifier, Shift D. We start to get our box now. So if we take all those, Control J, I'm going to join them for convenience, and then duplicate them, put them somewhere else, and then we want to do a very quick mirror, and we want a mirror on the X in this case. That'll have disappeared off somewhere, but we can grab that again, G for grab, boom, there we go. So that's already the dividers for my card, and then it is a case of building the box. And there's a couple of ways we can do this. I mean, I can now grab this mesh, go into edit mode, and I can start creating the shapes. I might just, if I go for rotation and we go for active element, there we go. So we can go RY, there we go, and bring it up. Oops, I missed a bit. If we go for Control L for everything linked, RY, and then we want to go 90 degrees, maybe 180 from that, RY 180, and there we are. Let's get rid of, let's call these, rename these so I know what's going on. Hide that, rename that. I'm not sure I've spelled dividers the same way twice. That's definitely not how you spell dividers, but hey, it's not a spelling lesson. There we go. Right, let's go back into edit mode, and we want to press dot so we get the view of what we have here. Now this is a piece with a slot cut into it. So what I can do is I can make this and boolean it out again. This is something that I've designed to do with a router, as you can see. So this is something I used to make in wood, but I can't be bothered. So if we go back into object mode and Shift D, escape, puts it in the default place. Right. In fact, let's duplicate that twice so that I've got a reference drawing. So we want to let's take curve 1. What have I done wrong? There we go. Let's hide a few of these. There we go. Curve 1 we want to keep. Bring up curve 2. And we go into object mode, and let's say we want to do just that, but let's go for C for the colouring tool. I like the colouring in tool. And we press the middle mouse button, and then we can uncolour, left for colour in, or middle mouse for uncolour, escape, and then let's go for, in fact let's get rid of these as well. There we go, and then we invert. Ooh, a couple of ways we can do this. Let's go for grab. And then we just say we want this to be fire. Let's go for 6mm high. Ooh, we've got all of those. Control link. Grab. And then Y or X. Let's say we want to go 6mm out. -6. G -6. Depends which way you want to travel. There we go. Right. And then that leaves us with that one. Control L for link. F for face, E for extrude, and that'll be 6. Cool. Now we can get rid of, this is really the hard way of doing it, but if we grab this face, we go X for delete, and then we go N for only faces. You can just go on the menu and click if you so wish. So now we have only faces. Now we can take, in fact, let's go for 2 for edge, select that edge, and then go get rid of that edge as well. And we can actually do all of this pretty manually if we so wished. So let's go for vertices, Control L. So we go face, and let's say we want to put that G, Y, or X. Let's go 4 back in, so we want to redound to 4. This is, for anybody who knows Blender knows that I am so doing this the hard way, but you could boolean this out, but I'm kind of making a solid shape, because, you know, it might actually be useful. So I'm going to shift and deselect that line, because shift, control and alt are your kind of main keys, and let's extrude. Let's go for on the x-axis, and let's make that 4, or actually -4. There we go. You can actually build a whole shape this way. If we go back to 1, these two things, press F for face, although obviously if you only have 2 vertices selected you get a line. Face there as well. Now we can start to fill this in. If you hold Control down, it will go in through the nearest vertex. There we go. F for face. And then we can do a cutout. There we go. And F for face. Now another little tip before we go, we have no idea whether this is actually going to have the normals, i.e. what's outside and what's inside, if that's correct. So what I tend to do is, if you bring the drop down arrow here, in fact it's that one there, you can show, let's go for, this is an accidental discovery of mine, if you go for matte cap and pick the coloured ball, there we go, and then you select face orientation, which is there. Here we go. Now you can clearly see that the cutout is inside out. So you have purple or blue for the showing the outside, and then red showing the inside. So if we kind of dive into this shape now, you can actually see inside, and you can see it's inside out. You can see the slot on the left hand side is back to front. So we want red on the inside and blue on the outside. So the best way to do that is to select everything. You can go for A for all, but that will bring us all of that. But if we just go Control L, and normally I'll merge by distance just to make sure there's no excess vertices. There aren't. And then if you bring up the normals menu, Alt N, and then you press R for recalculate outside, or you can just go Shift N by the looks of things. Boom. So now notice it's turned the right way around, and that gives us one solid shape, and we're ready. Oh, and that one's inside out too. We can do that one. Dot, tab, A for all. Again, merge by distance, nothing, no problems there, and then Alt N R, and we're good. We've got two solid shapes, which means, in fact, I've got a problem with these as well. Our dividers are inside out as well. You can actually do, oops, if you press Shift, you can select them both. Go into edit mode for both. You can go L, merge by distance. Probably don't need to do that. Alt, oops, not N. Alt N, and then R. There we go. And this pretty much gives you something ready to export for 3D, and then getting it out is quite easy. I'm not going to do the whole box because this will take forever. So if we go File, Export, Stereolithography, STL, I'm pretty sure that's what it stands for. I'm going to do selection only onto the desktop, and I always write delete if I'm just doing a test. And then we are out of here. We now go on to there. That basically will spit out something for either resin printing or, in my case, filament printing. Wind it up, wind it up. There we go. Windy, windy, windy. It loads itself up. Boom. And there we go. And there we have a solid mesh ready to 3D print as we so wish to do. And that is pretty much there. Boom. Cool. 19 hours. That is an inordinately long time, but I'll have to work on that. So there you go. That is your journey from DeltaCAD into Blender, from there to there. So I hope that was useful. And as always, if you have any questions, just get in touch and I will be happy to answer them. There you are. The end. Finished.